So welcome to the Collaboard training today. This is an introduction training and we will discover and look at some basic use cases. I'm happy that you're here and let's start with a first introduction. So let me tell you where's Collaboard from. So actually Collaboard is from here. You see there is this lovely picture I took a few weeks ago from the mountain that is close to Collaboard's office. And basically our building is here below the clouds. And we're a Swiss-based company near Zurich, basically. And our office is in a former hotel. This is how our office looks like. And Collaboard is from a company called IBV. And IBV is developing software since 1981. Of course, Collaboard isn't that old. It's a product from the last decade. But I think it's important to know that we have a very long heritage. It's a Swiss family-owned company. And we have done a lot of things, especially in IT security. And when we developed Collaboard, all this know-how and experience was also used to develop Collaboard. And there are two important facts I would like to mention. So Collaboard as a Swiss product with data hosting in Europe is 100% GDPR compliant if a cloud hosting. And we offer as well on-prem hosting. And yeah, that's almost everything I wanted to tell you about where's Collaboard from and the company behind. Maybe a short introduction about myself. My name's Michael. I'm one of the co-founders of Collaboard. I'm dealing now since 2014 with online whiteboard software and modern collaboration. So I helped a lot of organizations and companies to make this step into working better digital. And if you want to follow us and see what we are doing, you can do this on LinkedIn. So if you have your mobile phone, just grab it, scan the QR code, and follow Collaboard on LinkedIn so you always get updated when there are new features, if we have a new blog post or whatever. So we use this as one of our primary channels for communication. Yeah, what are we going to do today? So our agenda looks like this. And first of all, we will look on how to navigate on the online whiteboard. So that's the first thing we're doing. Then secondly, we will look at these different elements we can put to the online whiteboard and what's the optimal usage of these elements. Then in the third part, we will look at templates and how to use the templates in Collaboard. Then if you're a facilitator or if you're managing and organizing meetings using an online whiteboard, you will surely benefit from the best practices we share for the board design. And these four first things, they're more about how to create your board, what to do. And then we will look at three concrete use cases. One use case is brainstorming. Another use case is mind mapping. And the third use case is planning. And then after we checked out these use cases, we will look at what's possible next steps. So you understand how to get your free Collaboard trial, what you need to do to test out all the features and everything we have shown you today. Now let's start with board navigation. So what's important to know is that we have an infinite virtual canvas when working with Collaboard. So let me zoom out a little bit. So here now you see the whole journey we have prepared. We are just now at the beginning in this case. And if you have like an infinite whiteboard canvas, we need to have a good way and know how to find our ways around the board. And there are two ways about zooming in and zooming out on the board itself. And this is what I'm doing now. And this is very similar to what you already know from other applications. So maybe you have worked with maps or whatever, and zooming in Collaboard exactly works the same. So if you have a mouse, you can use your mouse wheel to zoom in and out. If you have a touchpad, you can just use the gestures on your touchpad to zoom in and out. And you see here at the moment, I'm at the zoom level of 65%. If I'm zooming in a little bit more, now I'm 114%. So it always shows you the level of zoom you have on the board itself. A little bit later, when we talk about the best practices, I will tell you which zoom level is the best to prepare a board for a meeting or workshop. Now, how to move around the board. There are also two options how to do that. So the first option is when you have a mouse. In this case, it's super easy. Just click somewhere on an empty area on the board and then move your mouse in any direction, and then you move around the board yourself. If you click on an element, like I'm doing now here on this sticky note, and then I can move here the element. So that's the difference. If you click on an empty part of the canvas, you can move around. If you click on an element, then you move the element. And this is the way how you do it with the mouse. If you are a touchpad user, or if you have like a nice touchpad, you can also activate a touchpad mode in Collaboard. And if you're doing that, you can use all the common gestures in the touchpad, like moving the canvas with 2 fingers and so on. And let me shortly show how you can activate this touchpad mode. So you can do that by clicking here on the upper right on this icon, going to the settings, and then here you have the option to enable the touchpad mode. I will now disable it again because I'm used to work with the mouse. And if you would like to really understand what's all the things you can do with the touchpad mode, you can click here on this question mark, and then you see also the difference between using the touchpad or using the mouse on navigating and moving around the board itself. Yeah, that's already everything, how you move around the board. Now, the core concept of Collaboard is, of course, not using it by yourself. The core idea is to work together with others. This is why I want to show you next how you can invite others to collaborate with you together. Before showing you how it's done, it's important that you understand one concept. So in Collaboard, there are registered users, which are users who have an account, they're registered with an email address, and so on. They can have some more features. Let's say they can have access to the facilitation feature of Collaboard. And then there are the guest users. And guest users, they don't need to create an account. You just share a link with them. They click on the link. They're already on your board. And now the beautiful thing is when you use Collaboard, these guest users, they can either be editors, so they can interact and change and add content on the board, or you can set their permission to viewer. And in this case, they can only view the content. And that's basically the options you can use here. Now, how do we invite someone? It's super easy. Just click here on this sharing icon. You can type in here the email addresses. Then Collaboard is sending an invite for these email addresses. That's one option. And the other option is to create a link or a QR code. And this is what you can do here. In that case, let's say we want to have the registered people. This is my team in this example. They should have editor permissions at the beginning. And then in the same link, you can also tell what permissions the guest shall have. And in this case, we say the guest users, they shall only have a viewer permission. Now, if you remember at the beginning, I said that Collaboard is from this Swiss company where security is so very important. So in this case, when we create now this sharing link, we also can say how long it shall be valid. We can protect it with a password and so on. So you will see when we go now through Collaboard from here and there, you'll find some features that allow you to increase the security of the product by just applying some of these configuration settings. In the end, we generate a link. We share that link either in a chat or we already put it to the calendar invite or whatever. And then in the end, if we have 2 people on the board, and this is what we already have here, you see now there is Michael, who is the board owner. And then we see also Albert, who is here a registered user with an email address. He can be viewer, editor, facilitator, or owner. So during a session, you can easily now change the permission. So let's say we would like to remove the editor permission from Albert. We can make him here just a viewer, or we can grant him also the facilitator tools if this is something we would like to do. If you want to revoke the invitation and remove him completely from the board, we can click here. And then in this case, we can remove the users who have access to our board with one easy click. Yeah, so this is how you invite others. And now, how is the magic happening on Collaboard? This is basically based on the elements we can put to the whiteboard. And let's have a look at some of these elements we can put here. And my goal is now not to tell you how to add a sticky note. So let's focus on the cool things you can do with the sticky notes. First of all, if you have here some of these notes, let's just add one new one. You can basically change the color based on your needs. So here you can directly choose any color you like. That's one thing. Or what you can do as well, you can, for example, use this color picker and then pick the color from any image on the board. So if I want that my sticky note now has exactly this color, I just click once more, and then it has this color immediately. That's very nice if you prepare a board for a customer or for a client. You can upload his or her logo before to your board and then grab the color for your sticky notes and apply this color directly. Now we have seen now how to add the sticky note from the menu. Collaboard also remembers, the last thing the user added is a sticky note. Now with a double click, I can just add new sticky notes in an easy and fast way. And sometimes I already have some information before my meeting or my workshop. Let's say I'm organizing now a workshop and I have the list of attendees and I would like to create a sticky note from every attendee. So in this case, I can copy and paste from Excel. Let me show you how to do that. I uploaded here to Collaboard an Excel file. So I'm just downloading this, opening that now. And now in this Excel, we see here a few names. These are just the attendees of our workshop. I copy that with my keyboard, so Ctrl+C, so they're on the clipboard. Now I'm going back to Collaboard, pressing Ctrl+V. And in this case, you see, I automatically generate sticky notes from an Excel. And you also see that these sticky notes have some predefined colors, and also the font and everything is predefined. Now, if you like to really work with sticky notes in Collaboard, you can define these settings here. So there are default values for your sticky notes. So let's say I would like that all my new sticky notes are yellow, would like that they have a more fancier font, for example, and so on. I could even say it should be italic, underline, and so on. So by just applying this here and adding the sticky notes again, you see, I can immediately change that, and the format is based on my needs. Sticky notes is one of the most used features in Collaboard, of course, as these digital post-its, but that's just the beginning. Now, Collaboard is an online whiteboard, and this is why we can also draw on the board itself. Of course, this doesn't work that well when you use just a touchpad and you don't have a tablet with a pen. But we will look at some cases where the drawing features also work great on a laptop like I'm using now. So what's important in Collaboard, you have like 5 different pens you can use. And for all the people who are not designated drawers or designers, they can also use some of our predefined templates. So we decided to add some redrawn templates in Collaboard. So for example, here you have like this banner, these people thinking together and so on. So in this case, I can just use this template, add it to my board. And now the cool thing is that I also have the option to change the color, for example. So let's say I don't like this black here, I can select it. And now for everything I have drawn here, I can change the color really based on my needs and so on. So the cool thing is here, when you are a good drawer, maybe you invest some time at the beginning, draw things nicely, and then afterwards you can always grab them, copy paste, so you can reuse these visualizations in your workshop in a very nice way. And this is the second basic feature of Collaboard, so the sticky notes, the drawing. But now Collaboard goes much beyond these standard whiteboard feature. It also allows you to import documents. And at the moment, we support 4 file formats. It's PowerPoint, Word, Excel, and PDF. I'm just telling you here that PDF is the best practice. So if you see that importing a PowerPoint isn't showing you the result you desire, then try it again by creating a PDF out of the PowerPoint and importing the PDF. I have already done that here. So what we see here is a PDF with 22 pages or 20 pages. So I can do 2 things now. I can browse through these pages. So that's one very nice thing. And I have also the possibility to extract some of these pages. Let's say here we would like to extract page 3 to 5. Now what is happening? Collaboard is extracting these pages and putting them next to this original document. And when you think now about the biggest advantage you have when you use an online whiteboard, it's this visual way of working together. And in that case, I can, for example, here now also use with my touchpad the highlighter, highlight some text that's maybe important on that document. And then, of course, we can start adding sticky notes again, saying, oh, okay, here we have a task, we need to change something, and so on. So in the end, you see, this is just a very simple example on how to add documents to Collaboard. When we work usually with documents, we have 10, 20 or 30 documents on the board and all the pages extracted. And that's much more, or for me, it's easier to work like that than having the documents in a folder and a subfolder and so on. So this visual way, it's like when I printed them out in the past, it's just having them digital. I can share it with everybody and we can work together in a team, highlighting content, adding sticky notes in tasks and so on. Now, the next element we can put on the board itself, these are our pictures. So we can just upload or drag and drop pictures from our device. We also have the possibility of taking selfies. So here I can use the camera, take a selfie and put it directly to the board itself. Or there is as well an integrated web search. So if you want to search for Collaboard or whatever, then you can just drag and drop here an image from the web search directly to the canvas. So let's maybe add one of these images. So it seems to be an interesting one here. So that's maybe wrong usage of this interactive display here. But we see there is a difference between this image and the image we're using here. So this image here has a transparent background, and this is why it fits much smoother onto the board itself. So let's say I'm moving now these pictures from this blue area to the white one. You see, because it has a transparent background, it looks more embedded on the board. And in the end, pictures are very important when you work with Collaboard because it adds this visual element in a very nice way to the board itself. When we developed Collaboard, we said, pictures, it's not enough. And especially when we look at the younger generation, we see them using another medium in their daily life, and these are videos. So in Collaboard, you can upload videos. You have the option to record the video directly on the board itself. So you can leverage this camera feature. You can search on YouTube. And I would like to show you one example on how our customers are using onboarding stories. So what you see here is a board with a lot of YouTube videos. These are basically just the Collaboard trainings. They're all linked to each other. And then new user can start here, watch the first video, the second one, and so on. So we see video as a very important element on the whiteboard. So this is why we added that feature. And now, if we look at documents, videos, images, shapes, and much more, so all these things you can add to Collaboard, you also see that it's not just a standard whiteboard we're talking here about, it's more like a multimedia workspace you can use for different purposes. Let's have a look shortly at the shapes. So if you want to add a shape, it's also done here over this toolbar on the left. You can just add a shape, and when you now work with that shape, you see you can change the background color, you can also change the border and so on. In the end, you will refine what you already know from other tools or from PowerPoint, and you can apply the same design activities here directly in Collaboard. Shapes are very important. You will see this later. Most of our templates, they are created directly out of the shapes. But all these things we have seen now, they're good for real-time collaboration, meaning we have the same people on the same board, you see me creating a sticky note and so on. But sometimes we also have this scenario that we work together asynchronously. And in that case, we can leverage the comment feature. So these comments, you can find them here under more. And there are a few cool things you can do with the comments. So let's open here one of these comments where we see this red one that indicates, oh, there is an unread comment. And here you see Albert already wrote me, you built a time machine out of a DeLorean. What a lovely idea. And now I can write him back, yes, I agree, for example. And first of all, you have the option now to chat in between this comment. You can also like comments. This is something you can do. And when we talk now about this asynchronous scenario, we also have the option to mention somebody. And if I mention here Albert in that comment, then Collaboard is sending him an email telling, hey, you have been mentioned by Michael in this project, have a look there. And this is a nice way to inform people in other solutions that something on the whiteboard has changed. And in the end, you see, we can attach the comments either directly to an image, or we can also put them completely free on the canvas itself. So here we are free what to do. So if we would like to add this comment directly to the door, we can do that. And that's a very nice way about discussing in the project itself in these comments. Now, the last piece of content we can put to the whiteboard is embedding other content. So we have here this embed feature that allows us to embed content as iframe. And here, for example, we see a GIF that we embedded. We also see Google Maps that's embedded here. So if I'm zooming out a little bit, I could show you now from where I have taken this picture at the beginning. So basically this was somewhere here where I have taken that picture. And that's another very nice way to add multimedia content to the whiteboard itself. Also with GIFs, you have more movement on the board that makes it more interesting and visual. So try it out. You can also embed just websites and so on. Yeah, these are all these things we can put now to our board itself. So if we zoom out a little bit, we saw that we started with simple sticky notes, with drawings, and then we ended up embedding either other application like Google Maps directly on the board itself. Now, when you start working with Collaboard, you don't need to always start on an empty canvas. So you can work with these templates. And let's have a look shortly on the templates. So in Collaboard, you have a lot of different templates for different categories. If it's just for strategy meetings, there are some icebreaker and warm-up games, these drawings we have seen before. And then there are also community templates. So we embedded the community templates directly inside Collaboard. So here you find a lot of different templates for coaching, for strategy workshops, and so on. And when you add a template, you just select it. Let's go here, and we want to select this flowchart template, for example. We are just adding this template now to the board itself. We can move it around, and then we can start using that and changing it and so on. I would like to let you know a few important things. So most of the time, when you add the templates, like I did here, this yearly planner, you find elements that are grouped together. So in this case, this container, this February, this is a group of elements. So what we can do here is we can ungroup it. And now you see it contains out of single elements that have been combined together as a group. So let's undo it. So we have the group here again. So that's one important thing. Another important thing is that you can also lock content. So if you click here, you have now the option to lock it. We will look at the whole lock functionality when we talk about preparing a board design. And then let's say also here, we would like to bring all of them in one line. We also have something called an align feature. So what I'm doing here now, I'm just selecting these three containers, and now we would like to align them on the horizontal left. So I can click here, and now you see on the left side, they're all exactly on the same level. And when we create these templates, we often create this group, we lock elements, we align things that they're on the same page. And try it out. Most of the templates are almost ready to use, but of course you can change things and adapt them based on your needs. In the end, it's a helper for you, not to start on an empty canvas, but to start with already something that's pre-prepared. Now, when we talk about starting, let's talk about some best practices for the board preparation. At the beginning of our session, we looked on how to zoom in and out of the canvas. Why is this so important? The zoom level, so basically this number we see here, which is now 68, this affects the performance of the whiteboard, and it also affects the usability. Let me show you why. So if we zoom out to, let's say, 1%, we see now almost all the content of the board, which means that our client needs to render a lot of information. So this takes a little bit more resources compared to when we're just here with 100%, for example. So this is the effect on the performance. So make sure you're always creating content that is between 60 and 100%. On the other hand, if you're at 1% and now you ask your attendee to add a new sticky note, then the problem is that the sticky note is super, super small. And now usually you have two kinds of people. So there are the people who zoom in because they're so used to the zoom gesture from other applications. And then there are the other people who just say, okay, it's too small, let's make it bigger. And you see if they now make the sticky note bigger, then it covers a lot of other content. And if you have 10 people on the same board and one of these, and just one is doing that, it will create already chaos and so on. So this is why we usually say the zoom level on the online whiteboard, it's almost as important as the speed level on the highway. So try to respect that. And in our case, the recommendation is to create content between 60 and 100%. This works best for you, for your attendees, and also is best for performance. Now, the second very important element is to lock stuff. So let's say you prepare something for a workshop, then you might not want people to move the sticky notes or you move this title and so on. And in this case, you have the option to lock it by just going here to to the menu bar. On the other hand, you can also do this with a keyboard shortcut. And in our case, it's Control plus L. So you see, we still have these standard settings from the sticky note. And then with Control L, you can lock something easily. And now the big question is, how do you unlock things? So to do that, you need to go here to the menu and select the option that you can select locked object. In this case, you can select it and then you can unlock it again. Sometimes it's a little bit cumbersome to lock one element after another. So this means sometimes it's much more useful if you select just a group of objects and then you lock all of them, for example. So that's just another way how to do that. So the recommendation is really lock everything on your board that shouldn't be interacted with. It makes your life easier because users are sometimes like kittens. They try to play around with all the things you have on the board, and this is a good way to prevent that. Now, maybe you have seen so far that I use always these buttons to jump from one location to another on the board. And this is a concept called quick links we have here in Collaboard. And the quick links, they're cool to create an agenda, a storyline, and so on. And let me show you how to do that. So let's say we would like to create a quick link for this region. So we just select everything. And now we say here, create a quick link. Let's say here, quick link. And now we created a link to this region on the board. And when I have done that, I can click here on this icon for the quick links. And in this case, we already see all the quick links prepared on that board. And then if we click on load more, we see here our new quick link. So with that, I can't just now jump from one location to the other. We could also jump easily back to the agenda. And what I have done here now, I just linked these quick links with each other. So I can magically move around the board and I don't need to pan and do anything else. So it's just almost automatically. Now let's go back to the quick links and jump here again. Now, what else? It's also possible to create links to other websites. So for example, here, we created a link on this object to the Collaboard website. This is one thing I can do. Or on the other hand, I could also put here the link to another Collaboard project, meaning, let's say I have one master board for my workshop, and then I start linking the breakout boards, for example, in here by just adding here the web address. So we really recommend to use this link or quick link feature because it allows you to create an agenda, a storyline, and make also the navigation for your user on the board much, much easier. Now, a last recommendation is sometimes you want to mark regions on your board. And you can use either graphics like I did here, or you can do this with shapes. And let me show you how I have done that here. So we see for these best practices, we see there is a graphic in the background and it's locked. So if I want to edit it again, I need first to select the feature that I'm allowed to lock again, select locked elements. Now I can unlock it and I can do a few things. For example, I can bring it to the front, I can bring it to the back and so on. So in Collaboard, there is a concept of levels, and this allows you also to say, okay, this content should be in front of the other one, and so on. Now, in our case, I'm just put it to the background. I lock it again, so it stays where it should stay. And you can do the same with shapes and other elements, and this allows you to mark regions on the board, like I did here. So you see basically in a very nice way what belongs together visually. Now let's look at the 3 use cases and let's discuss first of all the use case of brainstorming. Now, when you think about brainstorming, it's mostly about generating a lot of ideas. And you can do this in two ways. First of all, you can tell the people, just create sticky notes on the board before the meeting, because I already invited you. Or you can tell the people, let's do a brainstorming session together on the same board. And sometimes it's very nice to do this in different regions on the board. And let me give you an example. So I prepared here an example, and you see there is on purpose this shape in the front. So let me put it just to the back, lock it. And now here we see an idea for a brainwriting activity. So how is this done? We see here on the left, we see some brains with some ideas. So here people just start adding ideas. And when they have done that, they move their ideas to the idea collection. And here the nice thing is that people brainstorm in a separate area on the board, and then they bring the ideas together. It's a little bit different than when everybody is brainstorming on the same region and you see the ideas of all the others. So this is a very nice way to let people create their ideas on their own, even silently, and then bring them together to collect them. In this webinar, we won't cover that, but in one of the next sessions, we will also show you how to start a voting session or a rating session that you can automatically find out which idea is considered the best by your team. So this is a simple example of a brainstorming activity. Now, a next use case I would like to cover is called mind mapping, or basically connecting all the objects. And in Collaboard, let me show you how this is done. You can basically connect everything with everything. So let's say we would like to connect these sticky notes with this one here. We can do that, and we can adjust this connection in a very granular way. Meaning, we can say if it should be solid, dash, dot, we can add some arrows at the beginning, at the end. We can make the line straight and so on. So there are a lot of options. And the important take-home message is here. Basically, you can't just use Collaboard for mind mapping. You can also use it for diagramming, for concept maps, and so on. So there are a lot of different use cases. But let's have a look at two examples. So we have here one example where we see a mind map. And if you look at this mind map, we see here these planets and these galaxies, and somehow it looks a bit odd on this white background. Now, there's one cool feature in Collaboard, and it allows you to change the background color of your whiteboard. So don't think about the whiteboard. In the end, it can have any color you like. And in our case, to make it really fitting these planets and the space that is around it, let's turn Collaboard into the dark mode. And when we do that, you see also part of the user interface directly switches into white, so it's more visible. And in our case now, this mind map looks much, much nicer compared to when it was just on the whiteboard itself. So this is an example for a mind map, what you can do. As I said, in the end, you can connect really all the things on the board with each other. If it's an image, a sticky note, a video, an embedded object, whatever, you can connect them. And now the third use case we covered today, this use case is called planning. And I already created here like a Kanban board for us. So you can use this for to-do lists and so on. And there is one nice feature. We already have seen how to import content from a table into Collaboard, but there's also the other way around. So let's say in this case, we would like to export these 3 sticky notes. We just select them. We click here on export. Now we can export them as an image, as a PDF. If these are really tasks, then we don't want them as an image, as a PDF. We would like to get a table as well. So in this case, we can export this now. We get a CSV file with all the content of that board, if you like, or of just the selection. And then we can reuse that, re-import that into other solutions and so on. And that's a nice way how to export things out of the board and then bring it into other solutions. For all these planning activities like the Kanban board, to-do list, and so on, you also find some templates in Collaboard. So check them out. And if you have idea for new templates, of course, let us know. Yes, and these were 3 of these use cases. Now, we have shown you a lot in this webinar, starting from how to move around the board. We covered all the elements you can put to the whiteboard itself. We looked at some best practices. We didn't cover facilitator feature and some more conceptual stuff because this is part of other webinars. But now the question is a little bit, what's the next steps? So if you want to try out Collaboard and what you have seen now today, you can just grab your mobile phone, scan this QR code again to request the free trial. Or on the other hand, I'm just pushing here the link to the free trial into the chat. So feel free just to sign up. We offer a 14-day trial. If 14 days are not enough, let us know. So we can really help you that you can start working with Collaboard and exploring all the features that are not included in the free version. And then, yeah, it's an exploration. So what you can do is you can really explore new ways of collaborating, of working together with Collaboard. So try this out. And with this, we are at the end of today's session. So thank you very much for watching this webinar today. I wish you a lot of successful and interesting collaborative sessions with Collaboard. And now we're starting with the Q&A session. So we'll stop the recording